The Galactic Council and humanity's defiance representatives from dozens of races crowded the Galactic Council chambers, causing artificial translation traffic to fill the space. The normally calm and orderly council was in a state of disorder, with anxiety so high it seemed to pulse in the air. Voices overlapped as participants discussed, asked, and demanded answers. This wasn't a typical meeting. It was called in response to a situation the galaxy had never encountered before. Humanity, the unpredictable creatures renowned for their tenacity and fortitude, had vehemently declined to engage in negotiations. This decision, while seemingly straightforward, had ramifications no one could ignore. For years, people had established a reputation across the galaxy as passionate, independent, and self-reliant. Their behavior often verged on arrogance. The Council had tried time and time again to include them, hoping to bring humanity under galactic rule. Each rejection, at first polite, became colder, and now outright refusal. An elder council member stood in the middle of the chamber. The council could no longer stand this open defiance. Representing a diplomatic species, he raised a hand, calling for silence. The ruckus eventually subsided, but tension lingered in every stance, every tired gaze. His voice was strained but steady as he spoke. We always believed humanity would recognize the benefits of joining us, that they'd understand the reciprocal advantages of cooperation. Yet they continue to reject our authority, as if it holds no meaning to them. Some council members squirmed, uneasily at his words. Our peaceful efforts to integrate them into our system have failed. They now openly challenge us. A reptilian representative leaned forward, his scales gleaming under the chamber lights. Maybe they believe they're untouchable. Maybe we've allowed them too much freedom, they're out of control. His eyes swept across the room. Is this what we are now? A council that tolerates disrespect and disdain? Another delegate responded, her voice gentler but edged with concern. People are not like other species. They're erratic. They don't respect the customs or structure that keep our galaxy stable. We've all seen it. They adapt where others fall. They thrive in chaos. Silence fell over the chamber as many recalled their own stories, moments when humans had shown impossible resilience. Their survival was not just instinct, it was a kind of art. They didn't just endure the unbearable. They accepted challenges others believed were impossible. Their refusal to conform didn't stem from arrogance alone, but from something deeper. Frustrated voice broke the silence, this time from a species known for technological prowess. They reject our advancements. They stay separate. They ignore diplomacy. What do they hope to gain by isolating themselves? Do they really think they can oppose the unified will of the Council? His voice cracked slightly, betraying uncertainty. In the back of the room, an elder from a less powerful system slowly shook his head. They don't refuse out of arrogance. It's fear. Fear of losing control over their own future. We impose our values on them, not realizing that what we see as rejection, they see as protection. They're defending something we don't understand. That thought unsettled the chamber. Seeing humanity's choices as simple defiance was one thing, but accepting that their actions were shaped by a fundamentally different worldview, that was far more dangerous. We misread their motives, another voice added, and that misunderstanding might cost us. If we let them do this, a stern delegate warned, others might follow. Others might begin to question. We must remind them, remind everyone, that rebellion has consequences. Humanity is a threat, another said. Not because of their strength, but because they dare to change the rules. By simply existing outside our system, they ask a dangerous question. What if we don't need the Council? The elder counselor once again stepped forward. We've tried diplomacy, we've offered reason, we've given them every chance, but we mustn't be reckless. Humans are not mindless aggressors. Despite their unpredictability, they act with purpose. We must understand that purpose before we act. This sparked heated debate. Some agreed, advocating caution and comprehension. Others scoffed, claiming the time for understanding had passed. They demanded action. They must learn that independence is a myth, one representative muttered. Disobedience must have consequences. Then what? Came a soft voice from the rear. If they aren't afraid of that, what do we do? The words hung thick in the air. Despite the Council's power, a terrifying truth loomed. Humanity might truly be willing to stand alone. They might value freedom more than protection, more than unity, more than peace. Their refusal wasn't a mistake, it was deliberate. And for all the Council's power, humanity had made one thing clear. They would not be bound by the galaxy's laws. The session ended in uneasy silence. The Council had never considered this outcome, that they might not be feared, that someone might say no and mean it. As the delegates filed out, one thought echoed quietly, buried beneath layers of political rhetoric and power plays. Humanity wasn't asking for permission. They were declaring their right to live on their terms, and the Council would have to either accept that or face a conflict they might not win. The human perspective humanity, newcomers to the galactic stage, had arrived late, but not quietly. They didn't ask for alliances. They didn't seek protection. They grew relentlessly, persistently, fiercely, and the galaxy noticed. Where others stumbled, humans adapted. Where others hesitated, they acted. They moved forward, reshaping the landscape of power without ever raising a flag or demanding a seat at the table. They refused diplomacy when it came with strings. They rejected unity when it came with chains. The Council had sent ambassadors to Earth. They returned confused. Were they politely turned away or simply ignored? Humanity didn't see the Council's laws as protection. They saw them as limits. Limits they refused to accept. Time after time, the Council saw the same pattern. Humans didn't seek war, but they didn't fear it either. They didn't start fights, but they ended them. Every time, their message was the same. Leave us alone. Blunt, direct, and immovable. They didn't see diplomacy as sacred, only useful until it wasn't. When it failed, they cast it aside. The Council tried to understand. They studied human history, conflict, rebellion, resistance. They found one constant, a refusal to be ruled. A culture forged in fire that thrived on resistance, that saw submission as the ultimate failure. Even when offered safety and resources, humanity turned inward, grew quiet, drew lines, and then made their stand. The Council's frustration turned to fear because this wasn't ignorance, this was conviction. And the worst part? It was working. The final exchange security from possible dangers and an opportunity to become part of the greater galactic society. That was the offer. But the human simply shook their head, a faint smile teasing their lips. We don't need the Council's approval, they said. When asked about protection, they responded simply, we've adapted to survive on our own. We face difficulties without assistance. Your resources are valued, but we figured out how to support ourselves, they continued. We are integrated, have our own culture, and follow our own path. We don't require your blessing or your system to flourish. Their tone was devoid of defensiveness, rage, or conceit. They were convinced the Council's offer was unnecessary, even confining. The delegate felt uneasy in the grand chamber, slowly coming to a disturbing realization. Humanity had no desire to occupy it. Humans simply existed beyond the Council's reach, perceiving themselves neither as superior nor inferior. The Council's influence, once absolute, was being questioned. The delegate attempted a more intimate appeal, moving away from pragmatism and towards solidarity and mutual understanding. He spoke of the wealth that might arise from unity, but the human faces remained unchanged, calm, steady, unmoved. Their presence was unwavering, untouched by promises of safety or luxury. You misinterpret us, one human finally said, walking past as if they'd already heard it all before and made their choice. We are not denying you out of malice. We simply have no desire to cede our independence in favor of a system that restricts us. The Council's directive may work for some, but we take our own chances and deal with the consequences. The declaration struck the delegate. These people weren't claiming superiority. They weren't hostile. They just believed in something else. That dissonance, that refusal to conform, was the first real threat to the Council's carefully maintained order. Humanity wasn't simply declining to join. They were asserting a distinct way of life, one that challenged the Council's most basic assumptions about harmony and control. Realizing the discussion was slipping away, the delegate made another attempt. He emphasized the benefits of shared knowledge, teamwork, and resources. Still, the human expression never changed. There was no hunger for power, no interest in protection. One human replied, kindly but firmly, "We appreciate the Council's efforts. You're kind, and your offer is generous. But even with all the advantages you provide, we won't give up our independence. We don't negotiate autonomy." The delegate grew frustrated. How could they explain that isolation brings danger? Yet the humans seemed to understand that already and even found the delegate's concern amusing. Beneath the diplomacy and pleasantries, something unspoken lingered, a strength the Council couldn't name but could feel, sensing the tension that would reshape the galaxy forever.